Hello, my beautiful crafty friends. I'm Katya with Lunar Sun Creations, and I have another awesome mini album project for you. This one is using Vectoria Designs Travels in Nature collection, and it's all camping, hiking kind of imagery. If you've been watching my channel for a while, you know how much I love to be in the woods and near the water. So this paper collection was definitely right up my alley, and I thought what better place to do an intro to it than on a camping trip. I am a couple hours up the coast from where I live, and this lake is Klein Lake in BC, and it is gorgeous. I'm a little bit feeling rough from too many drinks around the fire last night, but we've got some coffee and Bailey's happening and coming to me very soon. So I'll just show you a couple images of the campsite, and then we'll get going on to our album. Alright, hope you're having a beautiful day. All right, so here is the project we'll be creating today. I love this whole image, so I wanted to use that for the cover. And then this is a continuation of that same piece of paper, and then map on the back. All right, open it up, and in the very front, we've got a little journaling booklet that you could kind of remove. Oh, I need to change that paper. That one paper is upside down. You can remove this and like take it on a hike or something with you if you wanted to do some journaling, like, you know, by the lake or something. There is still a lot of room in there. You could put a map in there or something. So nice big pocket. Over here, we've got a piece that pulls down. And then we've got a waterfall. I just left these blank so that you could add photos or journaling. Okay, and then you open this part up and you've got another spot for photo and journaling. And then this part opens up and more room. Okay, so that's page 1. Page 2 and 3, these are my favorite pages. I think these look amazing together. All right, so here we've got 2 magnetized little pockets, and inside we've got some of the mini journaling pieces. You could actually make a whole little booklet of them and put it in here if you so desired. I just have one single one, and you can put photos or journal on the inside. And then the same kind of thing up here. Okay, close those back up, rotate this swing tab there, and then these both open, and then this opens to the side and opens to the side again. So more spots for little bits of journaling. A little tuck spot here with some tags. And then this closes back up, close the pockets back up, and then swing that swing tab back over them, and then that keeps it nice and closed. And then over here, this part opens to the right and to the left, and then we're using the ribbon pull to the right again, and then this one does the opposite of that, so it goes left, right, left, and then this opens up and we've got a little tuck spot there, and then this opens to the left, and then you've got another tuck spot. And I couldn't bear to cut into this image with the little hedgehog. He's too cute, so I just left that one plain. You could put a picture up there if you so desired. Okay, so that is that. And then on page 4, got 2 butterflies that are being used as swing tabs. So when they are out of the way, this opens up like that, and then down, and again. And then both of these open up for more space in there. And then the little butterflies just go back around to keep this closed. And then on the back cover, got a little tuck spot here with a journaling card, and there's more space. You could put another couple in there. And then again, another big pocket for a journaling booklet. And these booklets are just stapled together. If you wanted to get fancy, you could sew them. But I just decided to do the easy route with this part of it. Okay, perfect. And that goes back in there. And again, this one has a lot of room. You could do twice as much in there. And that is it. All right, so I will show you the materials and the paper collection itself, and then we'll get crafting. Okay, let's go over the supplies that we're gonna need, and then we will get into the project. Score tape and wet adhesive. I like to use them in conjunction. If you only have one or the other, that is fine. I just like how sturdy things are with the double adhesive, and also the wet adhesive allows you to have just a little bit of, you know, wiggle room when you're moving things around. If you haven't got it in the right place, you have like a couple seconds to be able to adjust it. I will be using my very well-loved ATG gun to be adhering the patterned paper, and the construction will be with the score tape and the wet adhesive. Then you will need your paper trimmer, a pen, a craft pick if you don't have nails, and this was very helpful for peeling off the backing of the score tape, a pair of scissors, some magnets. I believe I use 14, but it could be a few more. So some disc magnets. I use 1mm by 10mm disc magnets. They're very, very strong. A ruler, your scoreboard with your bone folder and your scoring tool, your cardstock, whatever color you like. I'm going to be using white. If you want to use craft or black or blue or green or whatever color you desire, go for it. We will also need a couple pieces of like a medium weight chipboard for the cover. Optional supplies. I'm going to be doing a few swing tabs, so I'm going to be using my Crop-A-Dile to cut the holes. If you don't have a Crop-A-Dile, you can just use a craft pick or some kind of little punch. And then you'll need a few little brads. You can, if you so desire, ink the edges of your papers with a distress oxide, or any kind of ink really, anything that's going to go on the edge of the papers, just to kind of hide the core of the paper and just to like make it look a little bit more rustic. That's completely optional though, that's just aesthetics. And then if you have some hanging around, some little clips and or paper clips would be handy, just in the way that we are going to be constructing this album. We're going to be cutting out pieces for a couple pages at a time, and this will just help to keep them in order. But again, you don't absolutely need that. You can just kind of separate them and just keep them organized. And lastly, we will need our patterned paper. I will be using the Travels in Nature collection from Vectoria Designs. I've already cut the actual journal papers. These are printed on just regular copy paper, and I've just stapled them into two little bundles. Oh no, one of them's upside down. I'm gonna have to restaple that. So I've just got two bundles of those. Those are gonna go in some deep pockets on the front and back cover. Really nice imagery, especially for someone who loves the outdoors, like I do. All right, and then for the papers, we have a lot of different kind of cut aparts and embellishments that can be used. I have not printed out every piece that is available. It's a big collection, so I've just printed out what I thought that I might need. Some of these can be used for like little swing tabs or pull tabs. And then we've got the full-size decorative papers, and quite a few of them have like little extra bits here and there that you can cut out. Here's one of the full-sized just patterns. And then I think I might use this for the cover. Some more bits you can cut apart and some borders. And then you've got some of the same imagery going horizontally instead of vertically. Some file folders, more cut aparts. These are the smaller journaling pages. I just cut out a few of them because I wasn't sure if I was going to use them or not. And all of these papers are printed on an 80-pound silk finish cardstock. I get asked that a lot. It's just an option that my printer in my town has, is this silk finish. It's got like a little bit of a sheen. You don't have to print it on that though. You can print it on whatever you desire. And then more of the just kind of plain patterns, just so your eye has somewhere to rest, because all the rest of the patterns are quite busy, so you want places for your eye to rest, which is awesome. I'm glad they provide those. It's perfect. And then I printed those out twice. All the, like the kind of solid patterns, if that makes sense. All of those, I printed all of those out twice. Okay, so that is all of our supplies. I'm gonna clear out my area and then we'll get crafting. Okay, so we're starting off with our base pages. I am going to say all of the measurements in inches, but I will put the centimeters down here on the screen somewhere, and I'll do my best to transcribe that. So we will need 2 pieces of cardstock that are 8.5 by 11, and then we will need 4 pieces that are 1 inch by 5.5. Okay, so get those cut and grab your scoreboard. Both of the 8.5 by 11 pieces are going to be scored right down the middle at 5.5. Easy peasy, and the 4 little ones are going to be scored at half on the 1 inch side. So again, just right down the center. And we're going to use these to kind of close our base pages. All right, put your scoreboard away for the moment. We're going to put score tape on each of those 1/2 inch sections of the little pieces. Put your score tape on the valley side of the score line, so the indented side of the score line, and make sure that it is not actually touching the score line. Make sure there is a tiny gap. So, I don't know, you'll be able to, can you see it? A tiny gap between the score tape and the score line itself. It's a very, very cloudy day here. Quite dark outside, so hopefully you can see me. I know there was a few people that had trouble seeing the white on white in my last Vectoria Designs project, so I did put some different paper down here, so hopefully you will be able to see things a little more clearly. Okie dokie. We're gonna fold and crease each of our score lines, and then we're gonna miter the corners of these small pieces. The main part of the page, literally just crease that one score line. Okay, grab your scissors, and we're just going to snip off a little bit at an angle from the folded part to the outside so that it looks like that. When it's open, it creates like an arrow. So do that to all 4 of your pieces. It's not absolutely necessary. It's just such a habit that I have now. It just creates a much neater fold. So that's why I would do it. All right, we are going to be putting those 2 pieces, the little pieces, inside the big pieces. So remove half of the tape backing on one of them, add a little bit of wet adhesive, and then with the open side facing in, we're just going to put that at the top and bottom of your base page. I'm trying to not get my head in frame here. Hopefully I succeeded. All right, we're going to put the another one on the bottom. Okay, and then remove the other side of the tape backing. And then fold it up. Okay, and that's it. That's your base page. So this opening is going to sit onto our binding of the album, and that's it. So do the same exact process of adding these two to your second base page. Okay, so once you have your two base pages created, set those aside, and we'll get our first set of pieces cut. So you will need 2 A pieces that measure 6 inches by 8.5. You will need 2 B pieces that measure 8.5 inches by 4 3/4. And you will need 12 C pieces that measure 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Okay, so get those cut and we'll grab our scoreboard again. Those 2 A pieces, we're going to score each of those at half on the 6-inch side. Okay, those are the A's. The 2 B's, we are going to score at half on the 4 3/4 inch side. Okay, and then all of the C pieces we are going to score at half on the 5 1/2 inch side. Okay, so once you've got all of those scored, put away your scoreboard, and we are going to add score tape to all of the 1/2 inch sections. Okay, so on the C's, it's going up here. So just the 1/2 inch sections get the score tape. On the valley side, remembering to leave that tiny little space. Okay, that's the C's. And then the 2 B pieces. And the 2 A's. Okay. Now we are going to miter the corners of everywhere that has that score tape. So I'm just going to do the A's together because they're the same. Do the B's together. And then we'll do the C pieces a couple at a time. All right, last one. So when you get all of those mitered, get your biddies out of the way here. And we are going to fold and crease all of those score lines. So use your bone folder and get all of those score lines creased. I'll do the rest of these off screen so you don't have to Watch me just creasing a whole bunch of score lines, and I'll be right back. Okay, once you've got all of those score lines creased, so we've got our A's, our B's, and all of our 12 C's. Now I want you to sort these into 2 piles. So 1 A in each pile, 1 B in each pile, and 6 C's in each pile. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 6 in this pile. Okay, set one pile aside for a moment. That's where I just like to have a little paper clip just so it keeps my work surface all tidy. So just set that aside for a minute. We're just going to work with this pile. We're going to grab a base page. We're going to make sure that our opening is on the left-hand side, and we are going to adhere our A piece onto the right edge of the base. So I'm just removing the tape backing. I'm going to add a little bit of wet adhesive here, and it's going to go on the right edge of our base page. And our B piece is going to go on the left edge of the base page, and it's going to go over top of the A. So I'm going to open up the A. I'm going to put the B piece on the left-hand side here. Okay, and it's going to fold over the A. Now, if you find, like I haven't cut mine perfectly, it looks like. If you find that the A is bowing a little bit like this, like it's not smoothly going over, then you can just trim a smidge off of the A piece. My trimmer has lost a lot of the numbers here, so I've tried to use a marker to put the lines back, but I can't always see exactly where they are, so sometimes I get just a little bit, like up to 1/8 of an inch off. So I'm just going to trim not even 1/8 of an inch, just like a smidge off of it, just so it closes nicely. There we go. Perfect. So there we go. And now our C pieces are going to adhere onto the front of our B piece in a waterfall. So we're going to put one right at the top on the front of the B. Okay, we're going to open it up, and then the next one is going to go just slightly underneath the 1/2 inch section of that first one. So we've got the 1/2 inch section of our first one ending there. I'm going to put the next C piece with just a little gap underneath it. Okay, so there's the end of the 1/2 inch section. I'm just leaving a little gap, about maybe a 1/4 inch. It doesn't have to be exact, just as long as they're all kind of separated the same. So just a small gap in between. And then we'll put the 3rd one and the 4th one and the 5th one. So that's the 3rd one. This is number 4. And 5. Okay, and now the 6th one. The 6th one is going to go on the bottom of the B piece, folding like the opposite direction. So we're going to put it down here, going up. And then when we close all of these down, this one is going to fold over top of them, closing it all up. Okay, so we're going to add a couple magnets now. So we're going to add one set of magnets going from the front of the last C piece that you put on, the 6th C piece. So put a little piece of score tape, make sure there's at least a 1/2 inch all the way around it. We're going to put a single magnet on that. Then we're going to open up that 6th C piece. We're going to let a magnet just find its buddy through the paper. We're going to put another piece of score tape over top of that. Remove the backing. And then close this over your other C pieces, and that will adhere the magnet right there. So that is nicely closed up. And now we're just going to put one more magnet going from the back of the B to the front of the A. So I'm going to put somewhere around there, put a little piece of score tape. This time we're taking 2 magnets that are magnetized together already, putting them on that tape, adding another piece of score tape there, and then closing that one up, and that will adhere those magnets. Now I do like to put a little bit of score tape over top of magnets when there's no paper in between them, because sometimes they will like to come back together and not stay where you put them. Okay, so that is our first page. Easy peasy. All right, set this aside. Grab your second base page. Again, opening on the left-hand side. Okay, and now we're going to grab that second pile of papers that we just scored and creased, etc., etc. We're going to take our A piece and we're going to adhere the A to the left-hand side this time. And I have a feeling, since I cut these at the same time, that this one might, I'm going to trim a little bit off this too, because I have a feeling that because I cut them both together, that this one is probably also just slightly over that 6 inches. Okay, your B piece is going to go on the right hand side underneath the A. So they're going opposite than they did the first time. Okay, so the A is going to fold over the B. Okay, and now we are going to take our C pieces and we're going to adhere them in 2 sets of 3. So I've got one of my C pieces. Let's just move this out of the way so it's not confusing. I've got one of my C pieces. The 1/2 inch section is on the right hand side. I'm going to take the next C piece and we're going to adhere the second one to the left edge of the first. We're going to adhere the third one to the right edge of that second one. Oh, sorry, that was a horrible noise. I'm just turning it sideways so I can see it better so I don't get my head in the camera shot. Okay, so that makes it so that it goes like that. So you've got the 1/2 inch section, the first one that we started with, and then the second one, and then the third one. Okay, and then your other 3 are just going to go opposite. So start with the C piece with the 1/2 inch section on the left hand side, adhere the next one to the right side of it, and adhere the next one to the left side of it. So you end up with 2 pieces that have a 1/2 inch section on, one on the left, one on the right, and then these both open like this. So one opens like that, one opens like that. Okay? And now we are going to adhere these onto our base page. So we're going to center them top to bottom. You can definitely use a ruler for this if you so desire. I'm just going to eyeball it. I find that my eyeballing usually works out pretty good, but if you'd like to be precise, then definitely you can measure the center of the page. So I'm going to put one adhered to the left edge on the A. And then we're going to open that up and we're going to put this second set of 3 on the right edge of the B piece. Okay, so lift up your A a little bit and we're going to put it onto the B, but we want to make sure that these are even with each other. So as you're adhering it, make sure that they are in line. So I've just kind of tucked this under the A while I was adhering it. Okay, and now the one attached to the B is going to sit over top of the one attached to the A, and we're going to add just a couple sets of magnets. We're going to put one on the back of this set. So 2 magnets magnetized together. Another small piece of score tape there. Remove the backing and close it up. Okay, and now I'm going to take one single magnet. We're going to let it find its magnet buddies through the cardstock. Because we need to know which side of the magnet to put the tape on. So now we're going to remove it, flip it to the side that the magnets want to be attracted to, put a tiny piece of score tape on it, and then let it find its buddies again. Okay, and there you go. Now that page is all closed up. So you've got pages 1 and 3. All right, now we're going to get our pieces ready for the next set of designs. Your next set of pieces are as follows. We need 4 A pieces, and they measure 4 5/8 by 11, so 4 of those. We need 2 B pieces, and they measure 1 inch by 3 5/8. Okay, so 2 of those. And then we need 4 C pieces that measure 8.5 by 3 1/4. Okay, so 4A, 2B, 4C. All right, so cut those out and grab your scoreboard. So for 2 of the A pieces, we're going to score on the 4 5/inch side. We're going to score at 1/2 and 4 1/8. Okay, and then we're going to rotate so that now it's on the 11-inch side, and we're going to score again at 2 and 7. Okay, so it's going to look like that. Okay, so do that with one more of the A's. So we're going to go 1/2, 4 1/8, rotate, 2, 7. Okay. The other 2 A pieces, we're going to score at 1/2 on the 4 5/8 side, but just that. And then, like on the 4 5/8 side, we just have the one score line. Then we are going to rotate it and score at 5 1/2. Okay, so the last A, 1/2 on the 4 5/8, rotate, 5 1/2. Okay, so those are your A's. The B's, we are going to score at 1/2 on the 1-inch side. Okay, that's it for the B's. And the C's, we are going to score at 1/2 on the 3 1/4 inch side. All 4 of them. Okay, put your scoreboard away. Okay, the B's and the C's, we are going to put score tape on the 1/2-inch sections. Those are the B's, and these are the C's. Okay, and I'm gonna miter the corners of these ones now, and then we're gonna work with the A's. The A's are just a little bit more high maintenance. So they just require a little bit of extra love. So we're gonna give them some extra love. For now, we're mitering the corners of the C's and then mitering the corners of the B's. I just like to fold the B's to miter them just so it's doing it all at once. Okay, get those biddies out of the way. Okay, set your B's and your C's aside for a moment. And the first A's that you did, the ones that look like this, that have the extra score lines, we are going to cut off this part of the 1/2 inch section on each one. Okay, so we're keeping this 4-inch half, like this 1/2 inch section on the 4-inch part, and then the really short part and the longer part, we're going to cut the 1/2 inch section off. Okay, so it should now look like that. Okay, we're going to do the same on the other one. You can do this on your trimmer if you'd prefer. I just find it easier with just with scissors. Okay, so now you've got 2 A pieces that look like that. So we're going to add score tape to the 1/2 inch sections that remain. And now we're going to miter the corners. Okay, so it looks like that. Do the other one. So we're only ever mitering corners that have score tape on them. Okay, get rid of those biddies. And now we're going to fold and crease our score lines. So what you end up with is something that looks like this. Okay, so do your other one here, folding in those 2 tabs, and then we're going to fold this up like that. That folds down like that, and you've got a little thing that looks like that. Okay, so those are the first A's. Now let's just work a bit with the second A's. Okay, so we're going to put our 2 second set of A's in front of us. We've got the long 1/2 inch score line on the left side. We're going to remove the bottom half of that score line. Okay, so we're keeping the 1/2 inch section to where it meets the center score line, and we're cutting off that bottom part. Okay, so now you've got 2 pieces that look like that. Now we're going to add our score tape to the remaining 1/2 inch section. And we're going to miter the corners. Okay, so now you have 2 pieces that look like that. So we're going to fold our 1/2 inch section, and then fold our other piece. See, it looks like this. Do the same with the other one. So those are your second set of A pieces. Okay, so now I want you to sort things into two piles again. So we've got the first set of A's that look like this. Okay, put those together with the two little B pieces and two of the C pieces. Okay, so that's one pile. The two other A's and the two remaining C's go in a second pile. Okay, so put that second pile aside for the moment. Grab the first base page that you worked on. Okay, so on the front of it, we've got this waterfall thing that we did. Okay, so flip this over. So now you've got a blank slate here. The opening to the page is on the right-hand side, and this is where we're going to put these elements. So we're going to start by turning these two A pieces into freestanding pockets. So we're going to remove the tape backing. We're going to add a little bit of wet adhesive. Okay, and we're going to fold this back up again. Okay, so now we've got this freestanding pocket that has a little flap closure. Okay, so do that with the second one. So now you've got two freestanding little pockets. So these pockets are going to adhere to our page at the top and the bottom, and we're going to adhere them to the page via our little B pieces. Okay, so put your first B piece with a little bit of wet adhesive onto the back side. So you've got it like this. We're going to put it right here, and we're going to put it so that the opening, the open part of the B is like, the opening is facing the little flap, is like towards the little flap. So here's our half-inch section, here's our flap. Okay, so we're going to do that to the other one as well. So we're just taking off half the score tape backing at the moment. Okay, and we're putting it on the back side with the open part of the B facing our little flappy flap, and put it on straight. It's not straight. Okay, that's a little better. Okay, there we go. And now with the remaining score tape, we're going to adhere it to our page. Okay, so this is now going to go right at the very bottom left. My left and my right is very confusing for me today for some reason. We're going to put it at the very bottom right edge. Left. Very bottom right edge of our base page. And the other one is going to go at the top right edge of our base page. Might need more coffee. That is a possibility. Okay, so now we have got two little pockets that open up from our base page like that. And I think I might have put this one on just a smidge crooked. It looks like it's, oh, it's down there now. Okay, I'm gonna have to live with it just a tiny bit crooked. That's okay. All right, so those are those, and now the C's. So we're gonna open up these B pieces, the ABs. We are going to adhere our first C piece to the left edge of our base page. Okay, we're going to open it up, and we're going to put our second C piece on the left edge of the first. And now I'm just going to dry fit this first just to make sure. If it looks like it's a smidge too wide, you might want to trim, like dry fit it first because you might want to trim a smidge off. I think I'm going to do that. It's always a good idea to check things out first. I need to get a new trimmer. So literally it's just a smidge that I'm cutting off. Like it's not even 1/8 of an inch. Just to ensure that everything will close very nicely. So putting a little bit of wet adhesive on there, and that is going to go onto the left edge of the inside of the first C. Okay. So now it looks like that. So it's going to close, close, and then the B's, ABs are going to close like that. And we are going to just put magnets closing the little flaps here. So I'm just going to have 2 tiny pieces of score tape. Actually, I'm going to put them on the front. So 1 there and 1 there. Putting a single magnet on each of those, and then letting another single magnet find its buddy through the cardstock, putting another little piece of score tape on top of that, and close. And close. So now our little flaps are closed. Magnets are so strong, sometimes they don't like to stay where I put them. And then in the designing process, I'm planning on putting a swing tab that is going to go this direction and then rotate to keep both of these closed. So we'll show you that in the design, like adding the pattern paper process. Okay, so now let's work with our second pile of papers. Okay. Grab your second base page. So this is the one where we have our 2 sets of 3 pieces all accordioned together. These magnets are really trying to become one again. I forgot to put some tape there. Okay, so we've got our accordion bits here, and then we've got our other accordion here. Okay, so flip this one over. All right, so now the opening is over here. And we are going to begin by adhering our 2 C pieces on either edge of the page. Okay, so 1 on the left. I'm going to dry fit this one because they should meet up, and the other will go on the right. Okay, they should meet up at center, and they do. Okay, fabulous. Now your 2 A pieces, they're going to adhere one on top of the other. Okay, so I've got them folded so that the 1/2 inch section is like folding over both of them, so that when they open, it'll open to the side and then it'll open down. Okay, so one of them, the first one, I'm going to put on the left C. I'm going to try and center it in the center of the page. So there's equidistance on the left and right, equidistance on the top and bottom. I think that looks pretty good. Keep it closed, and then we're going to put the second A right on top of the first in the same position. Okay, so open, down, open, down. All right, so now we are going to add, I think I'm again gonna add a swing tab. I might magnetize it or do some kind of little, yeah, I think I'm gonna do a swing tab going on both from here and here to close this. I might make it magnetized, but I haven't decided, but I can show you that in the decorating process. Okay, so that is all 4 of our pages done. Now we will work on our binding and our cover. Okay, so for your binding, you need a piece of cardstock that is 8 3/8 by 7 1/2. Okay, we're gonna grab our scoreboard. We're gonna put it in the scoreboard on the 7 1/2 inch side. And I'm gonna throw quite a few score lines at you right now, but I'll have them up on the screen in centimeters, and I'll say them twice, okay? So if you do need to write them down or something. All right, so we're gonna start by scoring at 1 1/4, 1 1/2, 1 3/4, 2, 2 3/4, 3 1/2, 4, 4 3/4, 5 1/2, 5 3/4, 6, 6 1/4. Okay, so we've got 1 1/4, 1 1/2, 1 3/4, 2, 2 3/4, 3 1/2, 4, 4 3/4, 5 1/2, 5 3/4, 6, 6 1/4. Okay, so this is what it should look like. Sorry, the lighting is so bad in here right now. I hope you're seeing that. So we've got 4 score lines right at the beginning. So making 3 1/4 inch sections. And then we've got a 3/4 inch section on either side, a 3/4 inch section, and then a 1/2 inch section. Okay? So hopefully that is good. You can always rewind the video and watch it again if that needs to happen. Now we're gonna flip it over. So we've got all the bumps, all the raised part. We're gonna add score tape to just the 3/4 inch sections for now. Okay, so just 1, 2, 3, 4 areas that are going to get score tape right now. We're going to remove the tape backing from 2 ones that are adjacent to each other and then fold them so they stick together. Okay, so you've got 2 3/4 inch sections sticking together. And now you're going to push the adjacent score line opposite. So it looks like that. We're going to do the same for the other 2. Gonna fold these 2 together. Okay, and then the score lines that are right next to them, fold them the opposite direction. Okay, so now you've got 2 things that are sticking out like that. Okay, now you can just fold the rest of these score lines and give them a crease. They're all gonna fold towards those flanges. I'm planning on adding a little bit of Tyvek just to strengthen this. If you don't have Tyvek, it's not the end of the world. But I am going to add just a little bit of Tyvek on the back side of this just to make sure that it's really strong. Tyvek, if you are unfamiliar with it, is just a rip-resistant material. I get it in the form of envelopes and just cut them apart. If you do not have Tyvek, you can find it online all over the place, spelled T-Y-V-E-K. If you don't have it, it is not the end of the world. This is just an extra step. Your album will be fine without doing this extra step. I just love the extra security that Tyvek gives, so I do use it in my albums quite a bit. In a pinch, duct tape could also work. Any thin, rip-resistant material would be super beneficial, because then as your album gets looked at over and over again and the pages get turned, a lot of stress can happen on where these folds are, and they could rip, but not if there's something preventing that ripping. So there we go. All right, now we are going to add some score tape to both sides of each of these little flanges. These are where our pages will slide onto to be secured into our album. Okay, and like we've been doing all along, we are just going to give these a little bit of a miter at the corners just to give the pages their best chance of sliding in really easily. Okay, so you should have something that looks like that. Okay, so get that out of the way, set your binding aside, and now we'll work on our cover. Okay, so for the cover, we are going to need 2 pieces of chipboard that are 9 inches by 6 1/8, so 2 of those. And then the spine piece is 1.5 inches by 9. So 9 and 1.5 inches, 9, 6 1/8. I've already got score tape on the backs of my chipboard pieces. Then we've got 2 pieces of 8.5 by 11 cardstock. We're just going to overlap these just slightly. So I'm just going to put a little bit of score tape along the long side. So I'm going to overlap them just a little bit more than 1 inch. Okay, I'm going to remove the tape backing. And overlap those pieces of cardstock just so I have a slightly wider piece of cardstock. Now I'm going to take one of my pieces of chipboard, one of the front covers, take the backing off. I'm not adding wet adhesive to this one because I don't want there to be any ripples from wet adhesive on the front or back of my cover, or my cover at all. And I'm just going to adhere this with about 1 inch of space all the way around here. Then I'm going to take my spine piece and I'm going to leave about 1/4 inch in between the 2 chipboard pieces and put my spine there. And then I will put my last chipboard piece. And again, leaving about 1/4 inch space. Oh, I didn't make that even all the way around, but that's okay. You you really want like about an inch of space all the way around here. I don't have quite as much as I'd like, but it'll still work out okay. All right, so again, I'm doing an optional step with the Tyvek. I realized that I forgot to even write Tyvek or say Tyvek in my optional supplies, but I'm saying it now. All right, so I'm just going to put some Tyvek over top of where this bends. And again, this is not absolutely necessary. All right, now I'm going to put score tape all the way around the perimeter of our chipboard. And then I'm gonna miter the corners like we've been doing all along. Just gonna go a little bit in at an angle and then out at an angle. So I'm not going straight across, I'm going into where the scissors meet the corner of the chipboard and then angling my scissors just a little bit and cutting out. Okay, get those out of the way, and now we are going to fold each of these sides. It's kind of like a just kind of training the paper to tell it where we want it to go so it stays nicely. Okay, and now we're going to remove the tape backing one at a time. Actually, I'm going to do the sides first. And here I am going to add some wet adhesive. Give it a good crease. It's a little bit too much of a glob there. If you get too much of a glob, just smooth it out so it doesn't squish out. Give it a good crease here. And then do the top and the bottom. Wrong tool. So I apparently got a little bit overzealous in my angle on a couple of the corners. A couple of the corners don't meet, so don't go quite as much of a sharp angle as I did. So you can see that there's a little bit of the chipboard showing, which is not ideal. I can fix it later, but if that does happen, you can either just use a little bit of white paint or something to cover it up, or if you notice as you're kind of folding it over that it's doing that, then quickly unfold it and put just a tiny piece of cardstock there to cover it. Okay, now I'm going to take my ruler, go in the creases, and just kind of do a little bend. All right, so there is our cover. Now we're going to put our binding system into our album. So we're going to add score tape on the 1 1/4 inch sections on either end. Just don't go past that 1 1/4 inch mark, because we don't want the rest of our binding system actually adhered to our album. Just these two flaps are going to adhere our binding into our album. Okay, remove the tape backing, and I'm also going to add wet adhesive to this too. Just gonna smooth it out just a little bit. Okay, now you want to make sure that your binding is centered top to bottom, and your outermost score lines, these the furthest score lines out are going to go kind of like right at the where the bend in the album is. So when your album bends, put your ruler back in there if that helps. So as your album bends, it should bend with that score line. Okay, so on both the back and the front cover, I'm going to have a large pocket that these little booklets can sit in. So you can take these out if you go on a hike or something and you want a journal sitting somewhere nice. So we need 2 pieces of cardstock that measure 5.5 by 7 3/8. 2 of those. So grab your scoreboard for the last time. Okay, put it in your scoreboard on the 7 3/8 inch side. Score at 1/2 and 5/8. Rotate it so that it's now on the 5.5 inch side. Score again, 1/2, 5/8. Rotate it again. So now you've got score lines here and here, and we're going to score again at 1/2 and 5/8. So you've got 3 sides that have double score lines. Okay, so do the same with the other one. Okay, you can put your scoreboard away. We're going to add score tape to all of those 1/2 inch sections, so 3 sides of each one. Okay, and now we're going to miter the corners. So these 2 are just like we always do, and then go to the innermost corner of where they intersect. Oops. Okay, now we're going to fold and crease all of those score lines. Okay, now we're going to remove the tape backing from the 2 sides first. And then we're going to let the bottom part kind of adhere to the sides just in the corners there. Okay, so you've got something that looks like that. We're going to add wet adhesive all the way around. Bring in our cover. And this should fit perfectly onto our cover. Okay, and we are going to add pattern paper, so that will help to keep this pocket down, and then that fits in there perfectly. Okay, so do the same thing with your second pocket piece, and it's just going to go on the back side. Okay, so once you've got both of your pockets on, you can set your album cover, etc. aside, and we will start adding all of our pattern paper to our pages. Now, anyone unfamiliar with adding pattern paper, you're literally just going to measure the area that you want to cover, and then cut a piece of pattern paper that is 1/4 inch smaller, both horizontally and diagonally, and that way you get 1/8 of an inch border of the background paper, the base paper, all the way around your piece of pattern paper. Okay, and just do that for each of the spots. There are a few things that I will come back and show you. Any place that we're adding a swing tab, here for instance, and also here. So I will come back and show you those things. And I'm just going to do most of it off screen because it is the part that takes the longest. So I'll probably spend a couple hours doing this, and then I will show you all the extra little bits and bobs. Okay, so I've got most of my pattern paper on. I'm just gonna go through it slowly so you can see what I've done. So you can do the same as I've done, or you can go your own way and use different paper and do what you would like to do. Okay, so there is nothing fancy on page 1. I have left some white spaces for people to journal. Okay, and then flip it over, and then this is where we're going to put a swing tab. So I'll show you how to do that. So first, we're going to figure out where we want our swing tab to be. So I want it to be so it will close both of those. So I'm going to make a mark with a pen on the piece itself. So we want it right in the center. I'm just going to make a little mark. Then I'm going to use my crocodile to punch a hole. Again, if you don't have a crocodile, you can use whatever it is that you so desire to punch a hole. Okay, once we've got our hole, we're going to make a mark through that hole on the inside piece of paper. So this is where it's going to attach. I'm putting my hand into the place where it's going to attach to our binding system, and I will punch my hole. Okay, now I'm going to get a brad. First I'm going to adhere these two pieces of paper. I was thinking that I was going to do it as a magnetized swing tab, but I don't think I'm going to because there's not a lot of space on either end, so I'm just going to do it as a regular swing tab. So I'm just going to adhere these two pieces on first using my ATG. Oh, I need to change my ATG tape. Hang on one sec. Okay, back up and running. So let's put this piece on. Okay, and now we're going to grab a brad. We're going to put the brad through the chipboard. We're going to put it through the hole in the paper on the base page. Where's my hole? Oh, I don't know if I said that this piece of patterned paper is backed on chipboard. Don't know if I said that or not. I just cut it out and then backed it on chipboard. Okay, so once it is through the paper, you're going to open the tines on the inside here. Okay, and now we want to make sure that those tines are not going to come out, because once this is in our album, we won't be able to fix it if they do, because this will be adhered into the binding. So we're going to first cover it with some score tape, and then we're also going to cover it with some either Tyvek or cardstock. You just want to make sure that it is really in there. Okay, so just going to remove the backing from that little piece of score tape that I put there, and then I'm going to put this piece of Tyvek over the tines and just really make sure that that is adhered over the tines really well. Okay, so now that piece of chipboard keeps these two pieces closed, and then when you rotate it, you want to make sure that it's going to fit in between the two AB pieces. Then it allows these to open. Oh, and I've got it in just, it's not quite in the right space because it's supposed to allow this to open now. I'm going to have to cut off a tiny bit off the bottom now. That's a bummer. That's okay though. I'm just going to cut off a tiny bit here. and then this piece will open. Okay, so I'm just going to do a double check and make sure that this is still going to be able to keep those two closed. Yes, it will. Perfect. Okay. And so that's your page 2. Okay, so I've got page 3 kind of matching the vibes of page 2 because they're going to sit beside each other. And here, I like there to be kind of something that indicates when a place opens and which way it opens. So over here I'm probably going to add just some embellishments. I've cut a whole bunch of the cut aparts, and I'll just back something on chipboard and probably put it here. Maybe one of the leaves or something. Over here though, I'm going to add a ribbon closure. So I've just taken some ribbon from the dollar store. So usually about this much. And then put a little piece of score tape at the end, just like that. And then fold it in half so that it makes a little loop. Okay, and then put another piece of score tape at the end like that. And then we're just going to adhere that onto where we want it to go. And I'm going to put one more piece of score tape. I've got one underneath, and then I'm going to put another one over top just to make sure it is really secure. And then remove that, remove the tape from over top of the magnet. And then I also wanted to show you if you did want to use the distress ink or whatever kind of ink. I'm just using a little dauber, and I'm just going like this around the edges of the page. It's very subtle and you totally don't have to do it, but if you did want to add that little bit of extra touch, then that's how you do it. And we're going to add this piece of cardstock right here to cover over those things. Okay, so there we go. So on this one, it opens this way, then it opens that way, and then it opens that way, and then this one, same kind of deal, right? Oh, I have one piece that I didn't put paper on, so which way did I go here? Let's go with the, just trying to want to make them match. This one's slightly smaller than I would like it, but it's the last piece that I have left of that color, so I'm just going to go for it. And then once these are open, then this can open. I've left that blank for journaling. And I've left this side also blank for journaling. You can add pattern paper to the whole thing if you so desire. Okay, so that is our page 3. And then page 4. So again, I'm going to do a couple swing tabs. So I've decided that I wanted to use these butterflies as the swing tabs. All right, so first, I'm going to put this piece of pattern paper on the front, but leave the back side because that's where the tines are going to be. Okay, so we'll put this piece on. Okay, so now let's figure out where we want our swing tabs to be. So I'm going to make a mark where I want my hole to be. Okay, and then punch the hole. Okay, again, grab a couple brads, get those handy. I got some ink on here if you're wondering what that is. Okay, so figure out where it is you want that to go again. And I'm just gonna use a white pen so I can see my mark. Okay, we'll do them one at a time. So I will punch a hole there, and then put my brad through my chipboard and through the hole. Open the tines on the other side, and then we'll do the other one, and then we'll deal with the tines. Okay, so that moves out of the way and then swings over top. If you wanted to make it a magnetized swing tab, you would put a magnet on the back side of the chipboard, and then, well, put two magnets magnetized together with the score tape like we've been doing all along, and get your magnet on the paper. And then once you have your magnet where you want it to be, you're going to cover the back side of your swing tab piece with some cardstock or Tyvek or whatever it is you would like to use to cover up the magnet so that it doesn't come off. And then you can add pattern paper after the magnets are on. These pieces, again, especially this one, is quite small, so I'm not going to add magnets to these ones because I don't think that the magnets would have enough room. You'd be able to see them, I think. So I'm just going to do a regular swing tab. So just doing the other one now, doing the same process, making a mark where I want this to go on the paper below it, opening this up, making a hole. Okay, and doing the same process. Okay, so once you've got the tines open, you can add your score tape to it to cover them up, and then we'll add pattern paper here. Okay, so once that is in place, these just go over like that and keep it closed. Now we can add pattern paper here. So I'm gonna do some green on the front. Is this big enough? No. But what I can do is add the green and then add a couple strips of blue. So I think I'm gonna do that. So green. This is why I keep all of my scraps, so that I can use my scraps for things like this. So I just need a tiny strip of blue here. Okay, cover up my boo-boo of my inky fingers. Okay, there we go. And then on the inside, I've left parts of it blank, so you can journal. And then on the inside here, we'll just have to add some pattern paper to these two parts. So I think I'll use this dark brown here. So these need to be 2 3/8. And then you can add any other embellishments that you'd like to do at the end. I do tend to leave that for last, and wherever there's a place where I feel like it needs a little bit more excitement or color, then I'll add some of the embellishments in places, and then put things in whatever pockets you might have. Okay, so there's that. So that gets all closed up like that, and then the cute little butterflies close over that. All right, fabulous. So now we can bring in our cover again. So far I do have something on the cover, so that's what I've used for the cover. And this is the continuation of that page, so that's what I've used for the spine, and then one of the maps on the back. Both of the pockets, I have blue on the pocket, and then I just wanted to show you how to put a piece in the pocket. So You want to make sure that it fits widthwise, and you want to make sure that it goes over the side 1/2 inch sections that we have there. We want to make sure that it gives it a little bit extra support and that it goes into the pocket a little ways. So this goes down to about here. You could have a piece that goes all the way in and that will really support the pocket, but as long as it's a little bit in, like I would say over an inch, you want it to be over an inch in just to give a little extra support to that. All right, so we'll put those in and then we'll add our pages. And if there is writing, make sure that it's right side up. Okay, there's one, and then I've got green going in the pocket on this side. So don't let it adhere until you've got it in the place that you want it. It's a little high, but that's okay. That's good. All right, so there's that, and then our 2 little booklets. So again, this is just a few pages stapled in the center. If you wanted to use thread, you can thread it together, but this was just the easy way to do it. All right, so we've got our booklets in there. You could even add maps, like tickets if you've taken like a train somewhere or something like that into the wilderness or what have you. There's lots of room for stuff to go in there. All right, so let's get our pages ready to go, and we will take off our score tape backing from the first flange. Make sure you've got your book the right side up. And we're going to add some wet adhesive to either side of the flange. Okay, got a little overzealous there. That's a little bit much. There we go. Okay, you're going to take your first page. Okay, opening is on the left-hand side. Put your fingers into the opening, and then you're just going to hook it onto the flange and just slide it on. Okay, and make sure that it's even top to bottom, and then you're just going to press. Press on that side, flip it over, press on this side. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing with this one. Okay, smooth that out if you need to. You don't want any big globs of glue coming out when you attach it. Okay, again, make sure you've got the right page up and this, everything. Okay, and so I've got my fingers in there, and I'm just going to slide it onto the flange. And it should slide on really easily. Okay, make sure the pages are even with each other before you start pressing. Okay, perfect. And then on the other side. All right, and there we go. So add whatever other embellishments you would like to add, and that is our album. I really hope that you have enjoyed this tutorial. If you would like to check out my channel, if you're on the Vectoria Designs channel and you'd like to check out my channel, it's Lunar Sun Creations, and I have tons of tutorials available there for free, as well as some really ornate, elaborate ones in my Etsy shop if you'd like to check those out. And I do other artsy things as well, polymer clay and mixed media and all kinds of stuff. So I'd love for you to check out my channel, and I hope you have a beautiful day. Please give this video a thumbs up, whether you're on my channel or the Vectoria Designs channel. Both channels are pretty amazing, so give them some love. And I will see you again very soon. Get outside and enjoy some nature that we've been inspired by in the creation of this. All right, sending you huge hugs. Bye.